legally. He actually laid out the path. I remember having a conversation with him about it. It was still kind of a little bit, everybody was in jest, but I remember the buzz around downtown among lawyers at least. People would come up to me who aren't even that political, would say, hey, can we actually do this? It's something we should really do this, you know. So then all of a sudden I started getting the idea that, you know, this is something that could happen. It could happen legally. There's people, serious people that aren't that political, but serious people, lawyers, who were actually asking questions about it, right? Yeah. Anyway, but you know, it kind of went out of my mind over the last, you know, within about a year or so. But this last year, the last couple election cycles, and certainly this last legislative session and this legislative session, you know, kind of pushed me over the edge. I have been really angry over the number of last decade or so, how they defunded our schools. We used to be mid-range in the country in funding our schools. Now we're dead last. I've been really angry about the fact that I used to be able to get a law degree for less than $1,000 a year tuition and fees in the mid-'80s, and now it's, for undergrad, let alone law, it's twice that much, but for undergrad it costs $9,700 or $8,700 tuition and fees to send my kids to the University of Arizona when the Constitution says it should be free as possible. That's really bothered me.
For a semester or a year?
A year.
Yeah, for a year. $8,700 a year?
Yeah.
And that's not for the law school. The law school now is about $15,000 a year.
That's not books, that's not living expenses, that's just tuition and fees.
My first semester was $500 for
Mine was $289.
But
1961.
they are slashing. They're slashing out our basic educational system, which means our economic system is going to collapse in this state. And we're going to lose Raytheon. They've already been making noises about it because of the education system. We're going to maybe even lose Davis-Monthan because of it. We may become the biggest ghost town in the country history. Let alone Phoenix might become a ghost town. I don't know. I don't give a shit about Phoenix.
Here, here.
Straight to that one.
Yeah.
that one.
So, anyway, but you know, and all SB 1070 bothered me, of course. But you know what? Then all of a sudden, they have just decided to criminalize everybody if they don't turn illegals in. This 1161 bill?
Except legislators.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, business people who aren't registered on E-Verify, that doesn't even work yet. You know, if you're a nurse in a hospital and you don't ask the question, you can be prosecuted for a crime. If you are a school teacher or an administrator or a counselor at our schools and you don't ask the question, you can be prosecuted for a crime if this thing passes. You know, these people claim they're libertarian types, but they want to use the full force of government against you, okay? Just if you don't act like the Gestapo and turn in your neighbor. That's really what they want to do. Our treasurer is David Eichner. He's a libertarian. He doesn't believe in a lot of the stuff I believe in, but he believes in that stuff, that the government shouldn't be intruding on us to do things like that. And so what happened is the straw that broke the camel's back for me was the nullification bill. And if you don't understand what a nullification bill is, this is basically what it's going to do. They are creating, this bill would create a 12-member committee made up of House and Senate members in the legislature to decide and review every federal law and decide if it's constitutional or not.
Right.
Yeah, the legislature, the two-thirds of which don't have degrees.
I didn't talk about the 14th Amendment bill, where they're trying to undermine the 14th Amendment.
Or the Brooklyn bill again.
Okay,
but those members of the legislature would determine what was constitutional or not. And if a federal law is deemed unconstitutional by this group, then Arizona wouldn't follow the law. Now, I saw it on Lawrence O'Donnell about 3 weeks back, and he said this is a secession. These are the types of bills, and he's right, because I studied this stuff in college. I was a history major on specifically Civil War and Reconstruction. This is the stuff South Carolina did leading up to the Civil War. In fact, in 1840, they were passing a similar nullification bill, like this, and Andrew Jackson was still president, almost done with his term, but still president, and he actually said, if you pass this bill, I'm sending in the troops, I'm hanging every one of the members of the South Carolina legislature, anybody who supports them, because that's treason, and you will be hung as a traitor to the United States. And guess what? They backed off at that time. But 20 years later, we know what happened. Fort Sumter and secession happened.
Well, this bill would also allow them to nullify any law, current or past. They could go back and work the Civil Rights Bill.
Or future.
Like,
Or future.
And isn't it true if you don't abide by it, you're a felon?
No, that stands to be 1161. There's a companion bill.
Yes,
You're right.
yes.
There's a companion bill. Now, here's the kicker. This bill passes. Now, understand this. I don't know if there's even a lawyer anymore up at the legislature, on the Republican side at least. And I do know that
There are a couple of lawyers, and none of them have signed on any of these
Yeah.
well,
bills.
two-thirds of the legislature doesn't even have a bachelor's degree. Now, understand that
They can't afford it. They can't afford it. It's expensive.
under our Constitution, and under our constitutional law developed by the U.S. Supreme Court, that only the federal courts can determine if something is unconstitutional or not. And they are totally saying, oh, no, we're determining that. And if we decide, we're not going to follow it. That is secession in itself. That is secession in itself, out of the country. Now, when I heard that, I said, Jesus Christ, I'm so pissed. And in the companion bill, this is what really, really chaps me. The companion bill that goes with this is that if something's found unconstitutional in federal law, and anybody tries to follow it and or enforce it, including federal agents,
They're a felon.
that it's a Class 6 felony.
Yep.
Class 6 felony.
For fuck's sake.
Now, some of us would like to see some of our IRS agents prosecuted for Class 6 felonies, but it really is going way beyond the pale. So, I went on my Facebook page and said, you know what? These people want us to secede from the country. In that case, I want us to secede from them and stay in the country and be our own state.
Yeah.
It's time. And it sparked off a nice little thing on my Facebook, but Peter Hormel, my buddy, who had run for the state legislature in 27, and who's a lawyer, called me up and said, Paul, it's time. Because he talked to me about this before. It's time to actually create a political committee to make this happen. And I said, all right, let's do it. So we met here about 3 weeks ago, right here. Every Wednesday at 5:30, if anybody wants to help, that's where we meet, at least for now. We formed and filed on Tuesday a political committee in the Pima County Division of Elections to do a initiative on the Pima County ballot asking, it's a non-binding resolution basically, asking whether people want to leave and become their own state. Now, let me give you a historical background on this. This is the how-to now.
You're going to get media on it.
Like, how do we do it?
Well, I'll talk about
You're
that.
gonna get media.
We already have media on it.
That's
Yeah.
the whole idea.
Wall Street Journal's going to run a thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple prongs to doing this. One is there are many obstacles to make it happen, and it might be it's certainly a long shot to make this happen. But we all felt that at least what it would do would draw attention to. I mean, you all know what the state Democratic Party's like, and you all know what at least our last top of the ticket candidates like. Timid, not willing to take people on, and even if they did take on some issues and call these people crazy, nobody's listening because they're Democrats, I guess, in this thing. Nobody listens to them. So my feeling was, at the very least, this gives us a platform that draws attention, that allows us to at least say, they're extremists, they're crazy, here's all the wacky things they're doing. Please, voters of Arizona, look at your down ballot race and who your legislator is and figure out what they stand for and what they voted for before you vote for them. Because we can't keep doing this. And the other thing it would do, the second thing is send a message to the rest of the country. We've got such a bad reputation. My friends laugh at me from around the country. That Tucson isn't them. Tucson's not like all those crazy people. Tucson's not like Phoenix. So we're open for business. Please come here with your convention business or your business if you want to move here. We are an open, pluralistic, diversified society here. And we're moderates.
We're not crazy.
We're not crazy.
It's not in a bad way.
So that's the concept was to create at least that platform to be able to say those things. And my attitude, and this is why I've been saying to the press, when they ask me, well, isn't this just a publicity stunt? And I said, no, it's not just a publicity stunt. Sure, we want to send a message that maybe can change the dynamics in the state. But let me tell you, if they stay this extreme in the next couple election cycles, it makes this a real possibility of actually happening. If they actually moderate out and more moderate people get elected, there won't be a need for us to leave and it'll lose steam. And that's the way I've been kind of telling the press about it. Now, let me give you the procedure of how this can happen. And there's two models where it's happened in the past. One of them is, we got similarities to both. One of them is the one that most people know about, is West Virginia broke off from Virginia when Virginia seceded from the country. Now, it was a little bit weird because the Virginia legislature, it's necessary under the U.S. Constitution that the legislature of the state allows the breaking off group to leave. Well, in this case, that didn't really happen. What happened was West Virginia was pro-union and didn't have many slaveholders in the mountain regions, and they always resented all the lowland aristocracy. So they early on got the Union troops in and became a pro-union region. And by 1863, they had actually created their own state legislature and then petitioned Congress to allow them to come in as a state, which of course Congress in the middle of the war wanted every pro-union state they could get. And so they let West Virginia in as a state.
And elected Robert Byrd.
1860. Just recently passed away.
Yeah.
50 years.
And now they have their. Is that all? His replacement is the first replacement since the Civil War. Well, anyway, but that's one model, and it's similar to what we're dealing with right now in the sense that Virginia, in the sense that Arizona has done this, are contemplating nullification statutes, contemplating undermining the 14th Amendment, doing things that are anti-federal, and doing things that basically is secession. So we say, hold it. If Russell Pearce wants to be a traitor to the country, let him. We want to stay in the country. Let us break off and stay in the country as a state. It helps us politically. That's one reason I felt confident that maybe we should do this for the first time. The second thing is, the second model is more like the real path by which you can do this, and that is Maine broke off from Massachusetts in 1820. And how that happened was, after the Revolution, Maine was kind of a backwoods area, very frontier area. There was only some traders and fishermen along the coast that were very much from Massachusetts. They were akin to all the traders and fishermen in Boston and other areas of Massachusetts. But after the Revolutionary War, there was Massachusetts started selling the land in the interior of Maine. And by the way, Maine isn't even contiguous with Massachusetts because New Hampshire needed a port, and there's about 13 miles there where Portsmouth is that gives New Hampshire a port, so they're actually separated. But Maine was a separate province. I guess that's like a county. Yeah, it was a big one from Massachusetts, but it was lightly populated at the time. But they started selling land to all these people that opened up farms. Now the area there is kind of rocky. It's not easy to farm there. And especially the sheep farmers, I guess, were upset and wanted lower taxes for Massachusetts than the Massachusetts farmers because they couldn't grow their sheep as easily and they didn't make as much money. So that was a gripe they had for many years. The other big gripe was during the War of 1812, And subsequently after, there was border disputes with, obviously, the British on the Canadian border. And the Mainers did not believe that Massachusetts was protecting them with their militia. And they wanted that protection. So after the War of 1812 and in 1815, there was a number of province-wide referendums that went to the ballot, 4 of them, in 4 years, that each time said, we want to leave Massachusetts, let us leave. And then they would petition the legislature to let them leave, saying, people here voted, we want to leave, become our own state. Legislature wouldn't allow it. The U.S. Constitution requires the legislature let you leave before you can become a state. And then you have to petition Congress to accept you as a state. So what happened was, by 1819, the referendum in the summer was so overwhelming that the Massachusetts legislature said, uncle, basically eventually voted to allow them to leave in December. Actually put a little timeline on it. You have to become a state by Congress by March 4th, 1820, or else all bets are off. You're back with us. What happened was, in that fall, the Mainers had a constitutional convention, created a constitution, which was required. And then you have to obviously take that constitution to Congress and have it passed. Now, at the time, Congress was equally balanced in the Senate between slave and non-slave states. So if you came in as a free state, that would upset the balance. And these are a bunch of abolitionists in Maine. Well, it just happened to be at the same time, Missouri was petitioning to come in as a slave state. And then all of a sudden, things kind of blew up in where all of a sudden it looked like under the Missouri Compromise they were going to bring in Missouri as a slave state. So all the abolitionists in Maine all of a sudden changed their mind and said, no, don't make us a state. We don't want to be part of bringing in a slave state and the sin of slavery. So there was a little bit of a weird thing there. But on the 11th hour of March 3rd, 1820, Congress did pass the Missouri Compromise that let both of them in as a state. And that's how Maine became a state. People, very few people really know that. I didn't know that. I researched. Yeah. I decided it came in as a
find this on the internet, or did you go to the library, or how did you find it?
Well, I knew about it. I didn't know about it until that Red article, and then I looked into it a little bit. And started
Went back in your notes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Google that shit. You gotta Google that shit.
How many people
The pages
need
fell off.
to petition the state legislature to do this?
No, we're not petitioning. No.
Are
You
we
don't.
petitioning
We
the
don't.
Congress?
We're not petitioning.
No.
No. This is how it happens. We would have to, I believe, have a vote of the people in Pima County. A non-binding resolution basically saying we want to leave. Okay, now if we vote for that, then we have the support, at least morally, to go to the legislature then and ask them. We would have to lobby them to ask them to let us leave. Okay? And if they do, then we would have to have a constitutional convention, create our own constitution, and then petition Congress to let us, both houses would have to pass it and the president would have to sign it. Now, there's a lot of hurdles there. And it's, I can see Congress, if there was any domination by the Republicans in either house or the presidency, not passing because they would think we would more likely have congressmen and senators that were Democratic, right?
Of course.
However, this would be, we would be trying to put our initiative on the ballot in 2012, okay? And it gives us an ongoing effort. Now, we would have to get petitions signed, just like you would for a countywide initiative. 15% of, I think, the last number of voters in the last election cycle.
Can't the Pima County Board of Supervisors put it on the ballot?
They could, although they're claiming the county attorney's office, in their infinite wisdom, gave out a statement to the press saying, no, that wouldn't be the case because they don't have the power to do this. I'm sitting there going, because the state didn't grant them this power. I'm saying the bullshit. It's a non-binding resolution. They have the power to do a non-binding resolution. It's not like we're making a law. It's not like we're doing something that's, that's out of whack with state law. But that's just an interpretation. But put it this way, the County Board of Supervisors would be unlikely to do this, I think. And two, if we really want to pass this thing, it's probably best to go out and get petitions and actually work the petitions to get the support. Now, wait, let me finish. The last couple of steps here is then we go to the legislature. The legislature turns us down. Unlike Massachusetts, we have the ability to do a statewide initiative to ask the general public in Arizona to let us go.
Okay, stop right here.
And then we would have to go to Congress if we made that.
Curtis, I have something I don't understand. What is, so you go to the Arizona legislature, right? And
We
if
could do that right now.
if they give you permission, you still have to go to,
Congress.
okay, how about the Arizona state voting on this? I
No,
know that.
they don't
Okay,
have to.
Okay.
If the
I got it.
legislature lets us go.
Okay.
But if they don't let us go,
If they
we
don't, they
could
go to
do
a
that, yes.
Okay, I got it.
What's 15% of the registered voters?
It's not on the registered voters, the people who have voted is allowed.
Okay, well,
That
how
was
much would that
allowed.
be? How much would that be?
Well, let's see, it was 65% vote in the last election, Michael.
How many numbers?
Well,
That was about 70,000.
There's 480,000 registered voters about, so 65% of 485,000, 15% of that is the number.
Okay.
I think that's,
I thought.
it's not so bad.
Okay, 65.
You need to get more.
But you pretty much
Yeah, I
want
would-
that, right?
300,000.
Because I actually talked to one of the members of the Board of Supervisors about this.
Right.
And
It's about 35,000 signatures.
what he said is that one of the issues, the big hurdles is, at that point in time, we would then quite possibly have to pay back or reimburse the state of Arizona for item stuff that were paid for by the state. State buildings, state-owned buildings, state.
Bullshit. That's total bullshit.
And the
Guess
other
what?
thing
We
is,
paid for those with our taxes over the years. And a
Yeah,
proportional
and-
amount of the state buildings
I also
and
go
the
back-
university and all that, we should be able to
Yeah,
take it.
that
Guess
wasn't
what, Chris?
them, that was
We
us.
got lawyers. Then we'll go to court over this.
Yeah,
Hell yeah!
the other thing is going back.
And I would love to sue the state of Arizona.
Bring lawyers, guns, and money, baby.
Bring it on!
I'm just reporting
And they don't
what-
want to
what-
vote
what-
for the state.
The other issue is, my concern is, because I remember when you,
Why?
see, this is why this board is going to shit.
Why?
Get the pitchforks.
Is that, I remember when Yuma and La Paz split. That was quite contentious, and as I recall, actually Yuma won some of those issues over, this stuff belongs to Yuma County. As far as, I'm thinking there's almost armed conflict over road equipment. It's how contentious that got. This I could see.
We have
getting worse.
mothballed B-52s to take care of that.
How about Yuma County, Santa Cruz County, and Cochise County? Yeah.
They're not happy either, so could we join up with them?
Yes, this is what we put out there on our Facebook. We believe each county, if they wanted to join the state, would have to do their own referendum to decide whether they want to leave or not. But we left it open that any state, any county that wants to join us, we're more than, except for Maricopa, we really don't, can join us in this effort. There's some people that saying, like up in Coconino, what about us? And I said, well, it's possible every state would want to, county would want to leave and leave Maricopa on its own because Maricopa pushes everybody around. The tax equity issue is a perfect example. This formula they set up is perfect for Maricopa because Maricopa is the most incorporated population in the state. We have a low incorporation. We have a lot of unincorporated people in Pima County. And think about the rural counties. Their proportions are even worse. Right. And what happens is this formula means we give a lot more tax money to Maricopa County, to the state, than we give back. And it mostly goes to Maricopa County for those reasons. And they have never changed that, even though people said, just make it per capita of each county. They've never done that because they know they got an advantage. Now, think about this. If we did if there was a necessary lawsuit, we could bring up that tax inequity that's been historic. And we would be owed money, a lot more money, if we won in federal court, which I think we would. So, anyway, you know, there's other counties that may join us, and we put out feelers to a couple of folks in like Santa Cruz County and said, hey, are you guys going to do a committee like us? And maybe you should. Maybe put it on your ballot in 2012 as well. Join us. Now, some people had said, well, we would like to join, like friends in Coconino on the Facebook. I finally just said, look, we can do Donut, Arizona, every county around Maricopa County. And there's Donut Hole, Arizona, which would be basically Maricopa County. And Donut Hole, Arizona would be Arizona Hole, or we could call it A-Hole for short.
A-Hole.
Bravo.
ASU.
Yeah, there you go.
ASU.
ASU. Yeah.
What about Coaching?
Asshole you, yeah. Anyway, so what really this boils down to now is we have just started, and as soon as we opened this committee and put out a press release, we've had an avalanche. Our Facebook is what now?
Almost 2,100.
Yeah.
2,100 in like since Wednesday when the Arizona Daily Star article came out, it just jumped. And then understand this: when the Star reported it, the next day they said 54% on their online poll supported it, and it had more hits on it than any online poll they've ever done.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, what's it up to now?
57%.
57%. And KOLD did an online poll. It is at 63% support.
Do they have any breakdown of counties, or do they have any idea?
No, it's just.
It's unscientific, but nonetheless.
It's an unscientific poll.
Have you heard? What about Cochise? Have you heard any?
No, but anyone
No.
interested in it.
No, but we're going to send out feelers. We're just starting this thing right now. If they want to join, great, but they got to have to do their own referendum because it's got to be county by county. I think. Now, let me report a little bit more about what's happening with the media. They're taking it a lot more seriously than I thought. I mean, I thought they would call us quacks and all of that, but
Barfield? You working with Rhonda Barfield?
well, she was the one that wrote the article.
Reporters, let's talk.
Yeah, but the only station in the whole entire state that hasn't covered us is Channel 4 for some reason. But everybody else in Phoenix here have covered us. The questions are you doing this as a publicity stunt? Like I said, I like to put it as, well, no. We wanted to take the serious step on this to make it serious. And is it a long shot? Yes. But if they keep the extremist stuff coming out, and I like to, it's a great platform by which we say, I'm tired of being last in funding of our schools. I'm tired of solar power not being part of the conversation when we should be. That should be where our jobs come from. I'm tired of taxing equity. I'm tired of irrational, racist, unconstitutional laws being passed to vilify Hispanics. I'm tired of basically being the laughingstock of the country. I'm tired of laws that undermine the Constitution and basically our secession, and I want to stay in the United States. If Russell, and I just put it, Russell Pierce wants to be a traitor, let him. And the thing I've been pointing out every time is, if they keep this up, it makes our chances of seceding that much better.
Yep.
If they moderate, then this thing will fall apart, but that'll be a good thing because I don't necessarily want to leave Arizona. So those, and it's been an avalanche. Probably this week there's going to be a Wall Street Journal report. The woman wants to get it out on Monday if she can, because she says this is going national. I want to be the first one out of the blocks on the national news on this. It's already kind of creeping into the national news a little bit. There's been little crawls under like MSNBC and Fox and some of the others, but we'll see what happens with that. I wanted to be in the national news because I want to be able to tell people Pima County and Tucson specifically is a welcoming, moderate place where people aren't like this. And please come.
We drink moderate.
All right.
Paul,
Here.
the more times you say Russell Pierce is a traitor and I'm a loyal American, the happier I am.
Yeah.
Russell Pierce is a traitor and I'm a loyal American. More over and over and over.
And that's
Great line.
that was my main quote that Rhonda highlighted in that article, which I was very happy about.
Yep.
So
I got a question.
in this new state, would you run for governor?
Attorney General.
Ask me that question.
Yeah.
Like even the Wall Street Journal reporter, I say I'm not doing this for my own political career, and so I'm doing this for my kids and my future. And really, that's really what it's about. If it actually happens, and people think I should run for governor and be governor, I wouldn't begrudge that.
There'd be no salary. Yeah, there'd be no salary. No money.
That's not true.
There'd be no salary. No.
Think of the glory.
Voters. Yeah, the voters.
How, within that, is there a tax base within Pima County to support a separate state?
Why not? Yeah, why not? They're taking.
We already send them more than they send back.
Exactly.